goodness, it's been so long. This is the Voiceover Gurus podcast. I apologize. I'm Linda Bruno, your host, and it's been a while, but truly, my usual partners in crime are always so busy, and that's fine. That's a good thing in this business. So today, luckily, Barb Lyon was willing to come on to the podcast with me. Say hello, Barb.
Hi, you found somebody who wasn't busy.
You're busy too. You're busy too.
In my own way.
You are. You're busy too. It's just been tough, So I'm just so grateful that you're willing to come on with me, because I don't think anybody wants to just hear me blabber on about stuff. It's always nice to get another opinion, don't you think?
Well, yes, but I would always listen to you blabber on, Linda. Always.
You and my mom. That's my audience. So, Barb, you've been doing, just to give a little refresher, I know you were on a podcast with me months ago talking about IVR, because that's your background, but now you are full-fledged for a couple years now as a voice talent.
I am. And I'm kind of caught in that, I don't want to call it a sophomore slump, but maybe the bookings aren't coming as fast as they used to, which is weird because I would think I've learned more. So why aren't they coming? So I thought, okay, everybody tells you should have coaching. If you're going to be a professional talent, you should have coaching. So I started looking around for coaches, and it's overwhelming, right? Because
oh yeah, there's so many.
You find them, and it's like, oh, okay, well, do you judge by like their demos or what they describe? It's hard to find a review of a coach.
It's good, I think, because I get a lot of people that will come to the studio and, excuse me, I even just have a student that just left 10 minutes ago because we just worked on her demo about 2 weeks ago. And she physically went to coaches in the New York City area and my studio. And she interviewed like 6 different coaches.
Wow.
Yeah, she also looked and paid attention to what their studio looked like, what their background was, and then there was also the feel. Like, was she comfortable? Was it a good? I always say we have to take one lesson together just to see if the marriage is going to work. You know? And that, because you need to have that connection. At least that you're open to learning from this coach. And yeah, I was thrilled that she decided on me. But yeah, she interviewed a lot of people. And then I get phone calls, people saying I'm calling, I'm asking questions. I usually have a list of things to ask. But I always say that if you have someone in the area of where you live, because you're right near Chicago.
Yeah, just outside Chicago a little bit. Which
is great. If you can be face-to-face with a coach, that is the ultimate experience, in my opinion.
Why do you think that makes such a big difference? Because, Skype.
I know. It's just, you're in the same room, the energy, you can feel the energy. It's easier to, it's tougher for me in Skype to be able to hear the nuances of some of the delivery. A lot of times in the Skype lessons, I'll have to say, send me the audio file. And it'll sound different than what was transmitted through Skype. So I just feel like the talent, the energy is better to connect in an in-person setting. Plus, I think that students let go more when they're in a studio.
Really? You don't think that they're more self-conscious because there's someone staring at them?
Well, you're staring at them on Skype, too.
Yeah, unless you're just doing the phone Skype, you can't see. Like my webcam is outside my booth. It's on my iMac monitor. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of points at the booth, and all you can see is like a shadow of me because I'm looking at a different monitor in the booth.
See, I won't do Skype lessons unless there's a video camera.
Really?
So I have to see you because I want to see your facial expressions. I want to see what you're doing with your body.
Oh, my gosh.
I want to see because there's a difference in sound whether you're sitting or you're standing, and it's amazing how a performer's performance can change just by physicality of the face or the hands or whatever. So if I can't see you, no bueno. I've also decided I can't Skype lessons for absolute beginners, people that have no clue about voiceover. I don't think they're really that good now.
Really?
Yeah, I've helped some people, but then I feel frustrated because I want to do more, but I'm not there. Yeah. I don't know. It's a strange...
So part of it is you want that personal connection.
I do. So, yeah, I think I'm going to start moving in the direction of Skype lessons are just going to be for either working voice talent or people that already have a studio set up.
Well, interesting. You have valid reasons for wanting that. I'm kind of curious, like, if I can't find somebody who's convenient locally, because really, Chicago is like an hour and a half away. So it's 3 hours of commute time.
Yeah.
So if
like
I
us
can't
on Long
find
Island,
somebody
yeah.
super local,
Yeah.
just trying to find somebody who would go the Skype route. And then, you see these names, and you said somebody came to you with interview questions. I think that's great. What kind of things did they ask you?
She wanted to know my background. She wanted to know if I did anything else but coaching, which, that's the whole point of voiceover gurus is we're full-time working talent. So
somebody who only coaches is...
Yes. Yeah. I get a lot of people because they usually decide on me because of A, the no bullshit factor. I'm very straight up. And B, because I know what's happening every day in the business and have the knowledge since I have to pay my bills with it too. So I'm not paying my bills with my voiceover teaching,
Yeah.
So she was asking questions like that. She really, I think she was telling me about some studios that she went to in the city, and she was telling me how disgusting they were and they were dirty and that people had like dated. They just sounded like they hadn't done a job in 15, 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And now they were just coaching. Now, fine. If you're an amazing coach, I'm not faulting anyone for that. But she just happened to want to be with someone who was currently working.
Yeah.
And currently had that.
And I can see that. I actually, in my searching online for different coaches, I ran across a lady who looked really good, but her last website update was like 2013.
Oh, yeah, that affects
And I'm
it.
like, I don't know if you're such an active booth director anymore.
Right. I know. I know that can be troublesome. It's also, good to check if they're active in social media, if they're giving back to the community, maybe if they're doing anything other than just sitting in a room coaching someone. I just think that you can't, we don't live in a vacuum. You have to be day to day in this business, right? To know.
Yeah. Well, it changes so much.
Yes. And
What
you
was
gotta keep up.
popular, 3 years ago is not popular now.
Mm-hmm.
Remember
Right.
Vocal Fry?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a little of it right now because I think I've got a cold or allergies or something. But remember Vocal Fry?
It's still used some,
Yeah,
So
a little bit. I don't see as much call for it in the castings that I see. I'm very thankful that people aren't looking for Vocal Fry, and I don't get as many people asking for a direct mimic of the movie Her. That makes me feel really good.
Oh my gosh, that was a huge casting spec.
Yeah,
for a
I
while
kind of
there.
wish I'd seen the movie.
Oh, you didn't see it? Oh, it's a really good movie. What else have you seen like in your castings that types, like vocal types have been requested? Obviously it's female, but
Yeah. Let me see. You get a lot of stuff that's like completely juxtaposed. So it'll be like conservative yet conversational. Like, okay, how do I do that?
yeah.
Or a lot
Upbeat,
of
but not announcing.
Yes, and a lot of comparisons to Elizabeth Banks
Oh,
and what is Rashida Jones,
yes, Rashida Jones is a big one.
Kristen Wiig,
I haven't seen that in a while.
and who else am I thinking of? There was another one that crept into my mind. No, not so much lately, but a little bit of Allison Janney.
Yes. I get Allison Janney. I get Sigourney Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
And then the actress, Catherine Keener.
Ooh.
Yeah, that I get on a lot of. Well, used to anyway. A lot of, I don't know what it is, but again, it's the style, it's the trend, it's whatever is they're looking for. But yeah, it changes. You got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, and I see a lot of the whole like, we want somebody who's kind of millennial, kind of Gen X, and just talking off the top of their heads. And like, talk about a hard place for Barb to get into. Holy.
Well, you have the years of training with IVR and more of a straight, informative approach.
Yeah, and it's just a death knell.
But that's why you do so much e-learning, which is
Yes.
huge.
It does
you
help
know?
with e-learning, and it does help with your stamina, because a decent-sized IVR, as you know, can
Yeah.
take many, many, many hours to record. So if you can go 3-4 hours at a time,
Oh,
people
you're a rock
love
star.
that.
I know. I can't
They
go
ju-
beyond 2. 2 hours. I need a break.
I can do 3. If I get a little break, I can do 4. But I say that not having done one of those sessions for a little bit. It could be that
Yeah.
things are changing for me. I've seen a lot of talent who used to do 2-hour sessions that are now telling people, 1 hour.
Really?
Yeah, 1 hour,
Wow.
and they want a break.
Yeah. No, 2 hours is pretty much my limit. Remember when, you guys flew me out to Chicago to do the WAMU, and we had to do like 3 days of recording in the studio? There were like how many prompts? It was like 9,000 prompts or
Yeah.
something insane.
Yes,
we did?
it was. It
And we-
was crazy.
But we recorded like full days, if I remember.
I think we might have done like 4 hours, like 2 hours on, a little break, 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Just because they're like, well, we flew you out here, Linda.
Right. I was like, all
Airfare
right.
ain't cheap.
Well, let me have a little vacation while I'm here.
Hey, I just remember celebrating with steaks at Wildfire, okay?
Yes, that was nice. I was like, damn, I have to go. I just remember that flying out there and actually getting to meet you in person, which was awesome, and then being able to do something in a studio, like somebody else's studio, which we never do now.
And now we're fast friends.
Yes.
That experience must have been really awful for us to just like instantly bond.
Well, we bonded over all the IVR conversations and the coaching that you were giving me for that read. So, that's your background. I can understand where it'd be tough to get to that conversational place sometimes.
It really is. It's, you pull out little tricks like ask yourself a question, then read the line, or have a conversation with yourself so you can have the bipolar experience.
You were you participated in my online workout last week.
Yay, it was so much fun.
And I was focusing on trying to get you just to look at your performance and not the technicality aspect.
Yes. And
of
I
the
just
delivery.
I cling to the technicality. I'm like, okay, if you slow down here and you speed up here and then you articulate this, blah, 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 you will have the formula. And
Don't you think
doesn't
that
really
comes,
work
though,
that way.
from the IVR background?
Probably.
Yeah. It's like being in
Probably.
radio. It's like you kind of get stuck in that announcer mode, and then you have to be rewired
Yes.
to
I'm
yeah.
looking for a technician to rewire me.
You need to be fully
Can
rewired.
someone please dig into my brain?
Maybe you could find like some sort of, or maybe you could keep tabs on some of these really big coaches that travel and go to one of their like weekend workshops or something, And,
Yeah,
and-
I've somebody threw out to me that like, oh, if you can get to this person, you should go. And who was it? I can't remember the name right now, but it's some like massively huge voiceover coach, and I'm just like, I'm scared.
what, like Joe Cipriano or something.
No, it was a woman, but she has kind of a man's name. It's almost French.
French, ooh.
I honestly, I just can't remember her name right now, but I was just like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to play in that arena. That might be a little much for me.
Too intimidating. But you know what? It would challenge you.
Yeah,
Well, they say
It
what
would
doesn't
challenge
challenge
me.
you doesn't change you.
that's true.
Mhm.
Might make me wet my pants, but
Hey, some of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done, in New York City, of getting up in front of people, doing improv, doing, stuff in studios where you have 10 producers staring at you behind a glass. It's like, perform, monkey. Go. Here's a peanut.
Dance,
perform.
monkey,
Yeah.
dance.
And I just would, oh my goodness, I would listen to music out in the hallway before I would go in just to calm me down because I would be so nervous.
Oh, I was going to say Linda's pump up jam, but no, it's Linda's
No.
calm down jam.
Yes. Take deep breaths. But it was good, though, because then it pushed me, take the
Yeah.
criticism, try to learn from it, and move forward. It's nice,
Yeah.
though. And the tougher that people are, I don't know. Some people don't respond well to tough. But
I think it depends on the environment. If if I'm doing a spot and there's a tough coach, it's like, okay, just shut up and rise to the occasion. Just do it. But I think if I were seeking coaching and they were kind of harsh, I'd be like, So I might need a little bit, kind of a glide into your criticism.
Go easy with me.
We all know it's coming. Just soft touch me here.
Well, that's why it's important to have that interview.
Yeah.
Or at least to chat with the coach and to find out their approach, see if it works.
So now,
for
where
you.
do you think the line is? Because I've thought about, okay, well, I can interview people, and it's like, where are they going to think that I'm done interviewing them and I'm just fishing?
Yeah, I know. I've had that. And my 10-minute consultation turns into a 45-minute phone call.
Yeah, even if we're like clicking, I don't want to get into the space where I'm offending them.
No, I'm sure someone would let you know too. They'd probably just say, "I have to run. I have to run."
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think that information about how the relationship could work and what benefits you could get from the coaching relationship are the obvious questions. Some of the questions I like to get: will you help me get jobs? That's pretty much how I'm laughing. I'm like, what? You know nothing about the voiceover business, do you? Can you guarantee me a job when I leave here?
Oh,
so this is not a tech school or something. So, yeah, I like that one. I like, I had somebody ask me once, what's the percentage that you can guarantee that I succeed?
Oh,
From getting coached from you. I'm like, 0%. I can give you no. The bottom line is, I don't care who you go to coaching wise. If you don't work your ass off, none of this is going to matter.
yeah. And if you don't take the coaching, like, it doesn't matter how much Linda yammers at you. If you still don't execute,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. I find too that students that don't practice when they're not with me, I guess just like in learning anything, they come in and I have to say to them, look, if you're not going to practice in between our lessons, then our lesson is going to have to be what your practice was. And that's wasted money for you.
Yeah.
Because we could be progressing to something else, but we can't because you didn't practice reading and you're making mistakes all over the place. So that's the other part too, is there has to be that level of commitment that you're going to do this,
So
go ahead.
what about like practicing? Because like I practice with myself while I cut auditions all day long. I'm a great audience. I have kind of recently tapped into some of the workouts that people will do online, various companies. And, I'll listen to them and go, oh, okay. I think this, or, oh, I thought this, but they're telling them this other thing and it doesn't make sense to me. And then probably eventually I'll sign up for higher levels where I can participate in the workout. But how else do you practice?
The age-old question. Well, you got to get feedback no matter what. So I think that if you sign up for an online situation where there's a chance that you're not going to be coached, and you might just be listening, I think, that's a tougher thing to learn from.
Okay.
You really need ears on you. You just need someone to listen to you to say, or a lot of times though, I will, when I coach myself, I will play back the take and I will simply just ask, do I believe what I just said? Do I believe what I'm saying? Does this sound real? Is it coming from my gut, from my heart? Am I truly putting everything I can into this performance? And if not, Command Z, undo. Let's do it again.
And it's funny because even somebody like me, I coached longer than I did voice work over at Walsh.
Oh, okay.
So I have some self-coaching ability, but I have a hard time turning it on myself in certain environments. And sometimes I'll post an audition and I'll go listen to the next day and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, this doesn't make sense at all. So I think that outside perspective is really just irreplaceable.
What's tough, though, is it because you were a coach, that inner critic can really...
And that's where you spend half an hour in audition.
Yes. I mean, because that's one of my biggest downfalls is I will criticize the living crap out of everything I voice myself. And I'll be like, no, you could have said it like that. And then once you're doing that, it's like you completely take yourself out of the performance.
Yeah.
And the head is involved. Not good.
Yeah. If you've worked it 4 or 5 times, you've probably beaten it to death.
Right. Yeah.
Either give it a day or walk away.
Right. And with auditions, we can't give it a day.
Well, sometimes you can. Sometimes if you got 2 or 3 days.
Oh, true. You got that. I was listening to an interview with John Mayer, and he was saying that when he's on stage playing guitar, he is always self-criticizing every time he plays.
Really?
And I'm thinking, my God, he has the same problems as me. Oh, my God. I'm just like John Mayer. But it's terrible. It's a really bad habit. And that is, I struggle with it. I've gotten better about it. But that, I think, is one of the biggest challenges that talent have to face, is really just turning off the voice that's saying, oh, God, that sucked. Oh, I hated how I said that. Oh, no.
Learning to let go or learning to love yourself.
Right. How do you do that? Now you have to go into therapy. It's a whole different thing.
See?
Uh-huh.
Voice coaching and therapy, they should be like next door to each other.
Well, I'll be honest, probably 50% of my coaching is therapy. It is. And not because I want it to be. It just, I like to get to the heart of where someone's head is at.
Yeah.
And heart. And the passion. You have to have the passion. So, yeah, just do your research. Have you been, so you found a few coaches you think you want to interview, or?
Well, I found some that I'm like, okay, here are a couple of guys. You know, what's weird is I'm reluctant to take coaching from a gal.
Really? Why?
I think women are harder on women. I don't know why. I like, if you were to ask me who my favorite actor was, I could probably like throw out George Clooney, you know, whoever, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite female actor? I hate them all.
Wow.
Just I'm tougher on women, and I think they're tougher in general. I've like done spots for radio stations that like my husband worked for or whatever, and the people would come back with comments, like harsher comments, if they were a woman than a man.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
I think chicks are tough on chicks. So I found a couple of guys that, from their description, sounded like, okay, maybe they won't break me. I haven't really taken it any further than that. I was about to like recklessly sign up with someone, and then I rethought that process a little bit.
Sorry,
like,
Barb.
Oh, maybe I should do my homework a little bit better than just reading a few things online. I did listen to their demos. Yeah,
call me first. I'll give you the skinny of what I've learned.
I did listen to demos first. Like, your coach should have their own demos online.
Yeah.
And they should sound like something you at least want to be able to emulate, I think.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I found a couple of them. I'm like, okay, they've got some potential, but I haven't dug into the interviewing yet. I really should do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to ask, but that's an interesting approach with the female thing.
Yeah.
Because I would think that, you would think, well, a female might understand some aspects of delivery.
And maybe she would. I guess I just get along with men better. Aside.
If that's the case and that's where you're comfortable. But I have to say the majority of my students are men.
Ah, see, interesting.
Yeah, the majority of them are men. I only have like a handful of women, and I'm always like, where are the girls? Where are the chicks? But yeah, I think you're right, especially in business. Women, sometimes we're little catty little bitches.
Yeah.
And
I
good.
come from 23 years of working in an office, so
right.
I have that comparison of the men I worked with versus the women I worked with, and sometimes the guys were a little easier.
Yeah, it's a little tough at times. And also women are very competitive, especially in these businesses, or they're checking, they can check you out and go, I don't like her shoes, or they glare at you or something.
Yeah. Well, and especially like if they perceive limited voiceover opportunity for women, and if you have a similar tonal range and a similar whatever going on, they might be a little like, I don't want you to steal my thunder.
I know, and I don't agree with that. I mean, when going on auditions here in the city, I'm sitting in a room with other women that have voices similar to me, because it's a casting call for my type of read.
Yeah.
And the women are just like, they won't talk to you. They'll see people they know, and then they'll go off and talk to them, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, this is so petty. You know, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous because your voice will be right for something. My voice will be right for something. But never the twain shall meet. It's okay. There's enough opportunity and
Yeah.
jobs for all of us. And I wish people would have that. Some people would have that attitude.
Yeah, there is plenty of work to go around.
Yes.
It's not all going to be spot work. It's not all going to be glamorous. My mom will call and be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I did e-learning for blah, blah, blah." You know, so it's a bunch of things she'll never see. I
know.
finally got to tell her about one. I'm like, "Well, you got to watch for this one. You might come across it." And then, you know, it's like half an hour exercise getting her to write the name down correctly so she can watch for it.
Send them samples.
Yeah, I think I'm down to that.
Yeah, you have to. I know. People will ask me too and go, "Where can I hear you? Where can I see you?" And I'm like, you're not in Asia or Disney Junior for Asia? You're not going to Asia anytime soon? Okay. Well, that's online application. It's tough. It's tough to have that, but it's okay. Our business is made up of all types of genres that we can tap into and make money.
And I think that keeps it interesting. I like that sometimes it'll be something kind of glamorous like a spot. And then sometimes it's, I'm talking about nitrogen-fueled cooling systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can have multiple personalities, which is great. I think that's what's kept me in this business personally. You have a short
can let them all
attention span.
leak out.
Yeah, and you don't know what you're going to get each day.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh, I get to do a spot for Costco. Ooh, I get to do, a comedy voice. Ooh,
Yeah.
It's something different all the time, which is usually what keeps a lot of people interested.
Yeah,
in
I mean,
doing
it certainly
voiceovers.
keeps me going because,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in the growing phase of my career. And I'll go, a few days without getting something. And it's like, oh, okay, well, at least I'm doing this really interesting audition. I may not land it, but at least it's really interesting.
Well, I know you'd mentioned to me like you were doing like a monthly number that you like to hit
Yeah,
in sales.
Yeah, just to kind of keep the household alive.
Right. I used to do that too, and then like I'd start to go through some slow periods, and then it would depress me to see it. So I stopped calculating. I was just like,
Did you really?
Yeah. I just said, you know what? I know I'm paying my bills, and some months are going to be better than others, and I have to let it go because I would start freaking out.
Yeah.
You know.
I do at the beginning of every month. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, shit, oh, shit, oh, shit, oh, shit. And then I hit about the middle of the month. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I get to the last week. I'm like, this is gravy.
Have you heard of that website, voiceoverview.com? Did I talk to you about this?
Voiceoverview. No.
Great website. I signed up for it. Yeah, voiceoverview.com. And basically you put in if you did an audition, you put in if it was with an agent or with, like a P2P or something. And then you can put in jobs and you start to see percentages of what types of work you're booking.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, my gosh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and then you can just, obviously the work comes in because every time I do an audition, I have to go into it and put in, okay, I did an
Yeah.
audition. But then you also see a monthly revenue trend of the VoiceOver View community of what they're making.
Wow.
So you can kind of do a little comparison. I love to compare.
Mine are bigger than yours
Sorry. But the great part, though, is being able to see the job source and where the jobs are coming from,
Yeah.
percentage-wise.
It's like sabermetrics for voiceover.
It's just for us. It's just for us. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I got to check that out.
I think I pay like $9 a month. And I think you
Okay.
can do like a yearly. But yeah, I figured I'd try it for a few months, but I'm absolutely loving it.
Really?
And I look at my specs here. I'm just like looking at it now. And like, what percentage do you think your bookings are from auditions?
Oh, miserable because I audition a lot.
So,
Like maybe
right.
3%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, me too. I'm very low.
Okay.
Yeah, don't feel bad. Brian Lee's the same way, and he makes millions.
Okay.
So I'm looking here, and it really does show, for me anyway, that it's my relationships with companies that keep me going each month because almost 50% is clients contacting me directly.
Yeah. I do find that a lot of repeat business. Like I don't win so many new jobs, but the old ones keep coming back.
But I'm also saying client direct, they come to my website.
Oh, okay.
And I get new clients that way. So the auditioning process itself for me is not a huge factor in my monthly revenue. That's just for me. It hasn't. And then, I have a decent size percentage with my agents. But if you're just starting out, obviously you're going to be auditioning. But it's very important to have a good web presence.
Yeah.
Because people are finding me just from my website and just from my samples.
Do you do Google AdWords or anything? Because I have a
Yes.
fairly decent, what you do, Google AdWords.
I do. That's the only thing I do. I do Google AdWords. I don't spend a lot each month. I have maybe a $200 budget.
Okay.
And I get leads from that. Yeah. And people, it's incredible. I have a good SEO guy too. You need someone who knows how to do it.
Yeah, SEO is pretty important.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, it just seems to be a pretty great way to kind of like garner some new. But the important part too is on the website to make sure it is very easy and clear for people to be able to hear your voice.
Yes.
And to hear your style.
Demos up front, videos up front.
Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to search for anything.
Now, you talked a little bit about agents. And I know everybody's like, I got to get into voiceover and I got to get an agent. My husband's like, you got to get an agent. And I'm thinking, well, am I ready for an agent?
Right.
So how do you know when you're ready for an agent?
Well, you need to have some clients, which you do.
Uh-huh. I do.
You need to be proficient enough to, it's good if you've been doing it for a few years. You also need to figure out who you are, like where your strengths lie, because a lot of times, an agency may not take you on because of the fact that they already have 5 girls that sound like you.
Yeah.
And they're trying to fill a gap from, whatever they're missing in their roster. So it's more like you have to really, I just got a new agent a couple weeks ago and they we chatted, over the phone and she was asking me, she goes, what's the majority of your work? What type of voiceover is the majority of your work? So she asked me all the questions like over the last 10 years, where have you booked this, that, so they need to know that. You need to have that pretty straight out. Like, okay, I'm really good in promo. I'm very comfortable with commercials. Whatever it is that you find yourself booking a lot of. So for you, it's e-learning. You say, I'm great at e-learning. I'm great at IVR. I'm great at corporate narration. Then boom, because there's a lot of auditions that come down for that from agents.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think where you're at, I think you're at the pace where you could try to get an agent.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I should do that. My husband, of course, is like, you need to get in with Atlas. I'm like, you're on crack.
Well, now I didn't say where.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking for some of the smaller agencies.
Yeah, honestly, if you're going to look at a New York agent, I wouldn't at this point because they handle celebrities. They handle the big of the big. I'm not saying don't get a New York agent, but this shouldn't be your first one.
Yeah, no. I kind of stumbled into one I think they're in Seattle. I tend to do well in Seattle, and they've been wonderful. They shuttle me projects every so often, and they're like, "Oh, here you go, Barb. Here's another one. All right,
great."
And, that's wonderful. If I could find 10 more relationships like that, I would be in heaven.
So then, just repeat the model of how you got that contact,
which I will tell you is very scientific. It's a it's a web search for let's see. I think voice talent or accepting voice talent or something like that. And they had me submit and they reviewed my work. And then they're like, okay, well, here's our deal. And they sent me in writing what their expectations are and what they pay and all that good stuff.
Okay, they have a rate card.
Yeah. And it was like, if you're in, great. If you're not, okay. And of course, I'm not going to say I'm not in. So, I sent him the rest of my demos and then the work just started coming.
Nice.
So it wasn't hard at all. It was all done via email. It was all very friendly. And like I said, if I could replicate that 10 more times.
Hey, that's how you build the business.
It is. It is. And, those small production houses, they can really generate income for you.
Yes, yes. They can bring you some nice jobs.
And, it's not like it's glamorous. You're not suddenly doing, Sprint or anything. But, custom covers and canvas pays too.
Exactly. Their money's green.
Exactly. It all spends the same way. So who cares?
Yeah, I know. It's like in the initial stages, you're like, I wanted to be the voice of Lifetime, and I want to do Tampax commercials. I don't know why I thought that. And now I'm just like, really? You want to pay me $1,000 to read that? Okay, I don't care who it's for.
Exactly. I don't care if it's going to sit on the back of somebody's toilet. That is fine with me.
Sign me up. Yeah.
Hey, it's not necessarily glamorous, but it all pays the bills.
Now, this Seattle company is a production company. They're not an agent.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, with the agents, I mean, a lot of them handle certain areas. So you want to make sure that you don't cross areas.
Yeah, you don't want to cross streams.
Right.
So, I heard recently, and I was just listening to another podcast, but at CES, for example, which I'm totally not ready for, you would have to know if you were already represented, you wouldn't just go and contact another agent at the agency for, if you were doing spots, you wouldn't contact another agent and bug them about imaging. You'd ask for an introduction from the agent you're currently working with at CES to the imaging agent.
Yes.
To keep everything on the up and up.
Yes.
Don't offend your agent.
Yeah, I've been with Innovative in New York for, a long time, 15 years or so. And at one point I thought, well, maybe I'll get back into doing on camera. And they were like, well, we can introduce you to the on-camera department,
Okay.
And it had to be like that. There was there's that level of respect. But the agent situation is interesting because it's changed so much with so many different agents in different markets. And some people have a ton of agents. But I don't know if that's really beneficial. I mean, I guess you're going to hit with one. That's great. Yeah. But I don't know.
What about union versus non-union? Obviously, I'm non-union. So usually you view an agent as somebody, they're doing lots of union work. Are there non-union agents?
Oh, yeah. There are agents that just do non-union, big agents that do non-union. But the union cities like New York, are going to have...
Chicago, L.A.
Yeah, they're going to have the union agents. But you can find, and the rest do both. They do union and non-union. So, but usually the best, route to look for an agent is to ask other people who have agents and say, what's your experience? Do you like them? Are they sending you good auditions? Do you like the agents there? Because that's honestly how I've gotten my agents. It's been through a referral from a friend who's been with the agency. So,
nice.
Yeah, so it's like if you go on a agent's site and you happen to see a familiar name of a friend of yours or something, maybe if you're really good friends, you contact them and go, would you mind introducing me? Now, if the person, if your talent isn't up to snuff, let's put it that way, then you may get a declined response. But that's why you got to be at that level where you've got some clients, you're working regularly. You have something to bring, you have your little package of goodies that you can sell to a potential agent to hopefully because they want to look at you and they want to think, well, how can I use you to make money? That's pretty much
exactly. They got to make book too. So
yeah, that's the whole point, so they try to find, or they want to work with talent that are available. You need to be readily available. This is why it needs to be your full-time job. You can't be balancing something. You can never tell an agent, oh, no, I can't get that back to you. Or God forbid, a casting director. In Manhattan, you'll get blacklisted.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So you need to be on time. You need to submit with the proper specs. You got to follow those rules because a lot of agents have so many people wanting to be on their roster that they can be picky.
Yeah, they can afford to.
But yeah, I think it's time for you to look for an agent.
Oh, I think I might have to do that.
Now-
Add that to the checklist.
Yeah. Now there's different types of agents. There's promo agents, there's commercial agents. But a good agency is going to be able to get you a breadth of opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, something like promo, that's a totally separate skill set. Like radio imaging is a
Right.
totally separate skill set.
Right.
So starting out, probably, commercials and narrations are going to be my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I should just stick to that for now till I get trained in the other things by people like you.
Hey, go with what you're good at right now, What brings in money for you?
Yeah. And it's really e-learning and, the spots. It's not like the big time spots, but
Hey, spots are spots.
yeah, exactly. I do my fair share of, what's the name of the company that I just did? It's all vague. Like, 1 minute you're talking about fruit juice and the next minute you're talking about recycling tires.
It's
and
okay. It's okay. Now you got to make sure that you just focus on your strengths and what you've gotten yourself, experience or trained in, and then the rest will come when you're ready. You want to start a new genre, then you find a good coach. You start to hone your skills with that, and then you have something else in your arsenal of, talents you can offer.
Yes. And I have an unfair advantage. My husband runs an internet radio station, so I get a little imaging practice.
Oh, nice.
But granted, that's only in one format.
What format is it? What format?
Honestly, it is comedy radio.
Oh, interesting.
It's called grumpydingoradio.com.
So
and
what's your delivery like for that?
It's kind of rock and roll.
Oh.
A little bit. Like, okay, let me think. Kind of like Grumpy Dingo Radio, where the language is like potato chips. Salty. Something like that.
A little attitude. So it's more attitude.
A little bit.
Right? That's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's the only thing I get to do.
Well, I mean, also your husband does production.
Yes, I've been telling him he needs to become an independent imaging production consultant.
Mm-hmm.
So he can just produce people's image liners for them.
Yes, that's another, whatever talents you have, even as a voice talent, if you can do production, you can add that as something else that you can pitch and go, hey, not only can I voice it, I can mix it for you. I can make it sound pretty.
So my other half, I just go, hey, I auditioned for something. You better be ready.
Right.
So if I win it, you have to do this part. Okay.
That's a nice marriage you have, a nice agreement.
Yes, it's nice. It's convenient. He, 30 years of broadcast experience, and I have a Studio Bricks vocal booth and a Neumann.
I know. You've got more expensive stuff than me. Good for you, girl.
I scored.
You totally scored. I wanted to just answer a couple of questions because I had someone, Gina, emailed me and wanted to know about agents. And we were talking about that. She said, what's the etiquette about getting different agents? For instance, if you have a different one in every city or one for animation, I'm pretty sure you have to inform them. What happens if both agents send you the same audition and you book the job? Okay. Never, ever, ever never, ever do an audition for multiple agents. You pick the agent, one agent, submit that, and fingers crossed, because God forbid you book it and you've auditioned for two different agents. Oh boy, your relationship will be ruined.
Yeah, and I've engineered talent before when I was out at Walsh, and they'd get an audition in and they'd be like, oh no, I got this from this agent and this agent. What do I do?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you only do it for one. Who are you going to pick?
My little rule of thumb is whoever sent it first.
Yeah, that's like the safest way to go.
And then just tell the other agent. Say, sorry, I got this before you, or I got this first. And then they're appreciative to know. Okay, great.
Yeah. And next time, be faster on the trigger.
Right. Exactly. So I just do it by when the email arrived. But yeah, that's how you just have to be open and honest with all this stuff. Because there could be a situation that might come up. I had a situation years ago. Walmart in-store was running out of a company in California. And it was a production company in California that was producing the videos for the in-store. So I got hired through my agent to do the in-stores before that, you know, and it was union, which was great. So I was doing these union spots. It was for an agency on the East Coast. And it was wonderful and blah, blah, blah. And then a lot of time went by with no more jobs.
Oh, dear.
So I get contacted from the California one. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I do this normally. You know, I do it already. And I didn't tell my agent. I just forgot because it wasn't union. You know, and I'm FICOR, financial court. And my agent wound up finding out and was so upset, and rightfully so. But it literally slipped my mind because I was like, well, I haven't been hired for like a year, 2 years from the East Coast. I just figured they'd moved on, you know?
Yeah.
Because you check in, you try and do the polite check-ins and stuff, or you have the agent check in for you or whatever. And if there's nothing, there's nothing. Then, you know, so I had to basically charge the new company the rate of what I would get from the East Coast if I wanted to continue, you know, working with them. And they were in agreement with it. They were fine. But there's a situation of, you know, I had this nice job through an agent and another opportunity came up that I failed to tell him about. And that is a no-no.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you'd think 2 years out,
Right.
well, it's like starting fresh.
I know. Well, you think that. You're like, well, I've checked in. They moved on. You know, they don't want me anymore. That's fine. Somebody else is offering me, you know.
But those commitments hang on.
Yes. And especially with a good agent, they're not going to think too fondly of that. So in my experience, it is highly important to be as respectful as you can and to be timely and responsive. The other thing you got to think about with agents, you know, they get an audition. The good agents are only going to send a handful of people to represent.
Yeah.
So if they're asking you to audition, that means you are in that group, that select group. So if you don't respond or you're slow with your auditions, that's not good because the agent's waiting on you.
Yeah.
You know,
you should feel a little bit special that you were selected.
Yes. Yes. That's what you should be grateful for.
Just for the opportunity, darn it.
They picked me. They picked me.
Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
I got a fax. This shows you how old it was, maybe 10 years ago. I got a fax. My agent had sent me a fax. Not a normal thing, but I guess, I don't know, his email wasn't working or something. So he faxed me over the copy of an audition I had to do for him. And on the top, it said from the casting director, it said, just send me your top 5 women for this. Oh. And I was like, oh, I'm in the top 5. You know, first I got excited about that, but it was just that reminder, too, that it's just me and 4 other girls. You know, so do your job, Linda. Go in there.
Yeah, competition's going to be tough.
Yeah, but do what you do.
Give them your best.
And every time an agent sends you something, it's because they believe in you and that you could possibly book it.
Yes.
You know.
And try not to turn into a little gushing. Oh, right. You know, they're doing their job. You probably don't need to take up their time with a lot of like, oh, really? And chit chat and yada, yada, yada. No, just send it and say thank you.
Yes, exactly. When I started out, I was like, hi, I did this audition. Have you heard anything? I was that person that was like calling and checking in. Yeah, I learned real fast. No, your agent doesn't have time to be talking to you about this. You'll know if you book it. Trust me.
If they need you, they will call you.
Yeah, I think some people think, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe the call got lost somewhere. The email was not sent. No, if you've got a booking, they will move hell and high water to get you so you can make money and they can make money too. But these are all the things we learn with experience, right?
Yes. Sometimes you have to make the mistakes.
You have to.
And then they stay with you forever.
You have to. But it's
you just
good.
Never forget. You never make the mistake again because you were so humiliated the first time.
Yes. It's a scar. It's a painful scar. Hey, Bar, I'm really grateful that you did this. This is wonderful because you're going to have to come on the show more frequently. It's just great to get your perspective on everything, too, since, you know, you're 2 years in, 3 years in of being full-time.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, which is a great perspective for a lot of people to hear.
It's sort of like not completely a starter, but not sure where to go from here.
Right. Well, go interview some coaches, and you have questions, you know where to find me.
Yes, definitely.
And thank you for joining me today. And thank everyone else for listening. Someone had mentioned that they didn't know how you could review the podcast on Spotify, but I don't think you can review on Spotify. I think the only way to review is through iTunes. But if you could, anybody likes this podcast, please review it for me. That would be wonderful. And if you have any questions or anything that you would like for us to discuss, just email it to me at info@voiceover.guru. All right. Have a great day. And Barb, you have a great day. First off, let me tell you to have a great day.
Thank you.
Yes, and please join us again. This is the Voiceover Gurus podcast.